Dong-Soo is a good-looking man with a strange ability. One night, while he is strolling around the streets, singing to his self-composed song, High Hanging Metals, some organ traffickers kidnap him and take him away. Then, his body is dissected, bit by bit. Surprisingly, Dong-Soo can see everything happening, despite his being almost dead. After a while, the surgeon takes out both of his eyes and keeps them on a tray. However, the pupils look as if they can still see. The surgeon notices this, but before he can act, he receives a phone call. While he is away, shockingly, strange tentacle-like things come out of Dong-Soo's wounds, and they start healing. Then he comes back to life and slowly rises up. As the surgeon watches in horror, Dong-Soo grabs one of his eyes and places it near his eye socket. Lo and behold, the strange tentacle-like things pull the eye and fix it in its place. Dong-Soo tries retrieving his other eye, but at the same time, the surgeon summons for backup, so he jumps out the window and escapes. Next time you're having a tough day, just remember, pull yourself together. Oh God. Fast forward several months, a strange occurrence happens in the same city. One morning, a beautiful sculpture of a woman appears out of nowhere, and this attracts the attention of a lot of people. As they are curiously clicking pictures, suddenly, blood starts dripping from it. In a shocking turn of events, it is revealed that the sculpture isn't made up of clay, but it is instead an actual human, molded to look like a statue. In no time, the police, led by Chief Inspector Jang Won, arrive there and take the body away. However, even after hours of investigation, all they find is a strange mark on the body, which looks like a combination of the alphabet letters P and L. Following this, we are taken to Dong-Soo, who is now living an anonymous life in the city. He is wearing an eye patch to hide his missing eye and seems pretty shaken up by the incident. One night, while he is practicing his songs, suddenly he feels a sharp pain in his eye socket and experiences a vision. In it, he sees a first-person view of someone looking at a picture of zodiac signs on his computer. One of the symbols in the picture is the PL word that was carved on the deceased girl from earlier. Dong-Soo also notices an array of sketches around the person's table. Once his strange vision is over, he deduces that he is seeing through his other eye, which has been transplanted to someone else. The next day, as Dong-Soo is at his workplace, a junkyard, he notices some thugs harassing his old boss. He tries to make them stop, but instead gets beaten up. Then, one of the thugs brings out a knife and swings it at Dong-Soo, hoping that he will dodge it, but the latter doesn't move a bit. Because of this, Dong-Soo's ear gets sliced off and falls to the ground. The thugs are terrified at the sight, and they immediately run away. And, after they are gone, Dong-Soo uses his mysterious ability to attach the ear back to his body. Meanwhile, the organ traffickers are on the lookout for Dong-Soo, as his immortal body could be worth millions. Chief Inspector Zhang also notices him near the crime scenes, and suspects that he is up to something. That night, Dong-Soo tries to drown his anxiety by immersing himself in music. He grabs a guitar and attempts to play the song High Hanging Metals. However, since it has been a while, he is unable to remember the chords, so he goes to his anonymous YouTube channel and plays the song in slow motion to grasp the chords. At the same time, the guy from his vision also plays the same song, and as soon as he does so, his eyes start hurting. Dong-Soo also experiences excruciating pain in his eye. Fed up with the weird occurrences, he decides to head to the same place where he had been abducted and look for his other eye. Unfortunately, when he arrives at the place, one of the organ traffickers immediately recognizes him and calls for backup. Then, a lengthy chase ensues. Dong-Soo narrowly escapes and attempts to flee, but just then, a girl named Lisa approaches him. She appears to know about his condition and slices his leg to check if the rumors are real. To her surprise, Dong-Soo heals his wound in the blink of an eye and escapes. Following this, we are shown the same man from Dong-Soo's visions, going through his sketchbook. Shockingly, the sketches are of people who have been killed and turned into statues. This proves that the person who has Dong-Soo's other eye is the murderer. In the next scene, we are introduced to a woman named Lee Rang, who is heading to work on a bus. Along the way, she gets bored and starts listening to the High Hanging Metals song on YouTube, which has apparently gone viral. After a while, she reaches her workplace and notices a large crowd outside. They are staring at a human statue, which turns out to be the latest murder in the city. After a while, Lee is with her crush and team leader Jin Seop, who happens to be quiet and arrogant. To break the awkwardness, Lee starts humming the High Hanging Metals song, and with this, Jin Seop feels a sudden pain in his eye. Dong-Soo also experiences the same, and he starts getting a first-person view through the murderer's eye. He sees the woman Lee and her workplace. This finally reveals that the murderer is none other than Jin Seop himself. We also get to know that both of Dong-Soo's eyes recognize his song, so whenever it plays, they start reconnecting through telepathic means. At night, Dong-Soo gets another vision where he gets a better look at Jin Seop Seop's sketchbook. He sees the words corpse art and decides to look it up on Google. To his horror, he finds pictures of the recent murders and finally realizes that the person who has the other eye is in fact the culprit. The very next morning, he wastes no time and heads to the location he saw in his visions. He notices Lee and instantly recognizes her, so he approaches her and inquires about the man she was with the previous day. But as expected, Lee believes that he is a creep and walks away. Now Dong-Soo has no leads because he doesn't even know what the murderer looks like. So he decides to find more clues about him. He goes to a horoscope specialist and asks her about the cryptic PL sign. She reveals that it refers to the planet Pluto and is generally regarded as a bad omen. Dong-Soo then mentions the date of the recent 2 murder cases and asks if there is any connection between them. The specialist points out that they are definitely connected and also explains that the next similar date is the 25th of December, which is tomorrow. This alarms Dong-Soo as he realizes he forgot to buy Christmas presents, and also that the next murder is going to happen the next day. He wants to stop it from happening but doesn't know where to start. Meanwhile, Lee arrives at Jin Seop's house and makes love with him, oblivious to the fact that he is a cold-blooded killer. After they are done, Jin Seop heads to take a shower while Lee scans through the house. She comes across his sketchbook and goes through it out of curiosity. Lee is taken aback when she sees the gruesome sketches of the recently murdered victims and comes to know that her crush, Jin Seop, is actually the killer. The following day, it is the 25th of December, and as Dong-Soo had predicted, a statued corpse is found in an isolated field. A huge crowd gathers, and among them are the organ traffickers and Inspector Jang. Unfortunately, both the parties notice Dong-Soo and start chasing after him. The organ traffickers get to him first, but in the nick of time, the mysterious girl from earlier, Lisa, arrives and knocks them out. She then takes Dong-Soo to a safe place and introduces herself properly. Apparently, she is a novelist who is currently writing an article about the Connects. Connects are supernatural humans like Dong-Soo who have the ability to regenerate their body parts, hence making them immortal. Before departing, the two exchange their numbers and promise to meet soon. On the other hand, a scared Lee approaches one of her colleagues and tells him about what she saw in Jin Seop's sketchbook. Later, she meets Jin Seop and requests to speak in private. The two then head to the rooftop and Lee confronts him for being a murderer. She explains that she saw all of his sketches and his elaborate evil plans. Her colleague is keeping an eye on them from a corner, but unfortunately, his cell phone rings and this blows his cover. Alarmed, Jin Seop first knocks Lee out and then goes after the colleague. He is about to push him off the edge of the building, but just then, Lee's cell phone starts ringing, which has the high-hanging metal song as a ringtone. This hurts Jin Seop, and at the same time, Dong-Soo, who is nearby, gets a vision of the rooftop. Unfortunately, before he can reach the place, Jin Seop chucks the colleague from the building and kills him. He also finishes off Lee to tie up all the loose ends. All this time, the song keeps playing, and a terrified Dong-Soo witnesses the entire incident. The only clue he notices is the murderer's coat. Despite this, he rushes to the building by dodging numerous security checkpoints. He then races to the roof, but doesn't find anyone apart from Lee's lifeless body. At this point, the entire building is swarming with cops and panicked people because of the two murders. Despite this, Dong-Soo risks it all and decides to find the killer who has his eye. He heads downstairs and starts searching through the department where Jin Seop works. To his luck, he suddenly notices a man with the same coat as the murderer and goes after him. Soon, Dong-Soo reaches the washroom and traps Jin Seop inside one of the toilet stalls. But unfortunately, before he can take a look at his face, some security personnel arrive and take him away. It turns out that the officers tracked his activities through cameras and are suspecting him of being the murderer. Dong-Soo tries his best to explain that the real murderer is still in the washroom, but no one listens to him. Fortunately, the novelist Lisa again comes to his rescue and frees him. In the meantime, Jin Seop is left in utter disbelief at how someone could have seen him committing the murders. He spends hours thinking about it, but doesn't come to a conclusion. But when he hears the same song and experiences a sharp pain in his eyes, he finally realizes that his transplanted eye is causing the problem. Whoever has the other eye can see through him and experience everything that he does. The only way to fix this is with a surgery at the ICU. On the other hand, Dong-Soo takes Lisa home and explains everything to her from scratch. He starts from his childhood, where he had fallen off a tree and broken his limbs. But miraculously, every bone repaired itself in seconds. His friends called him a monster, and even his family isolated themselves from him. Dong-Soo then explains about the night where he was kidnapped by organ harvesters. He was cut open, and his eyes were taken out. But due to his powers, he healed all the wounds and regained consciousness. He then put one of of his eyes back and fled the scene before the bad guys approached him. Now he is having first-person visions of the person who has his other eye. The person is none other than the most wanted murderer in the city. He knows this because of the elaborate sketches and the other plans he saw in his visions. However, the problem is that he still hasn't seen the murderer's face. Hearing all of this, Lisa is taken aback, but nonetheless, she decides to help him. She also gives him a pair of sunglasses to keep him off the radar, as his iconic eye patch has become easily recognizable. At night, the two go to a department store to get some supplies, where Dong-Soo notices his wanted poster on the wall. Alarmed, he quickly races outside and tries running away, but at the same time, his eye starts hurting. Then he gets a vision of the killer watching his YouTube video. This makes Dong-Soo realize that he can only get visions when the killer listens to his song, High Hanging Metals. Later that night, while he is brainstorming ideas to tackle the situation, he again gets a vision. This time, he sees his own sketch being drawn by the murderer. It appears as if Jin Seop is trying to warn Dong-Soo to stay away from his business. However, in the process, he accidentally shows his next targets, which happen to be 3 schoolgirls. Dong-Soo is taken aback by what he sees, and he decides to find the killer before any death occurs. He knows that the entire city is on the lookout for him, but at this point, he doesn't care. In the final scene, as Dong-Soo is out to find clues, he stumbles upon a street musician who is playing his song's cover. For a moment, he forgets all of his worries and gets lost in the beauty of the song that he himself created. What a narcissist. However, Dong-Soo's happy moment is short-lived, as he once again gets a vision. Surprisingly, in it, he sees himself twitching in pain. This means that the killer is watching him from nearby. When Dong-Soo comes to his senses and looks around, he notices a shadowy figure observing him from a nearby car. Dong-Soo screams and immediately goes after him, but at the same time, Inspector Jang and his colleagues arrive and arrest him. The episode ends as a devastated Dong-Soo is taken away to the police station. This show kicks ass. Be sure to catch the following episodes on Series Recapped.